Quick tour of the ArcGIS integration in Microsoft Fabric. I'm going to look at a common use case that's been problematic in the past because of the sheer compute that's required to answer it. Now much easier to do with this collaboration between Microsoft and Esri. Essentially, you've got a fleet of vehicles broadcasting the speed and their location, and we want to understand where are these vehicles breaking the underlying speed limit of the roads that they're on. You need two sets of data. You need the speed zone data, which can be dynamic or static, as well as the vehicle movement data, some spatial analytics, which can vary depending on your business requirements, to then output in a form that can be used for reporting on within the business. And that can start to identify trends in where driving behavior might be, where there's certain patterns, maybe by vehicle or by area or by road type. We will use the Esri Geoanalytics library that's in Fabric, import the tools that we need. We will import the data we need. So this is the GPS movement data, convert it to one of the many Australian coordinate systems that are supported. We will then filter it down. So we're going to use the Digital Atlas of Australia and use the ABS boundaries that are on there to filter this data set to some specific boundaries. And we can see that data. This has a speed value, but it doesn't have the speed limit value. So it's just got the speed that the vehicles are traveling at on each of these little breadcrumb trails. A technique I like to do is just to aggregate the data to understand where the majority of the activity is taking place. This is a simple aggregation, showing most of it is along the highways, but also along the Great Ocean Road region. First step to clean up the data is called map matching. So this is to account for GPS drift that happens, and we're going to use the VicMap Transport Roads dataset, which includes a whole range of connectivity rules that we're going to take advantage of to essentially snap this GPS data to the corresponding road segment that it's on. Red points is the input data. From running it through this tool, the green points that are all along the road segments is what we're after. With that in play, we're now going to reference a second dataset, this time a roads data set from Digital Atlas Australia, which has speed values. Again, bring it into a local coordinate system and then use the nearest neighbours tool to get that underlying speed limit data from the road attached to the GPS point. And then from there, we can visualize that. But more importantly, we can run an detect incidents tool using a starting expression that goes, okay, well, if your speed value is more than, in this case, just 1 kilometer above the underlying speed limit value of the road that you're on, that is the beginning of an incident, and we're only going to close it off when you go back to below 1 of that speed limit value. From there, we can output that into a data warehouse or wherever you like and report upon it in Power BI. This is a very simple one to show that the majority of these incidents are happening on the fire roads, and they're happening there's a lot of road segments that are actually marked as 10, but a lot of people are don't always respect that and go above that limit. We can also see the different type of street type, the majority are being roads, also a little map of where they are and showing it over time. Of course, we can write this out to the GIS. We can overwrite or do an append and visualize this information outside of this environment, or in here, we're just going to look at the map from within a cell. So we can see there's a lot of these incidents that happen over this time period. And if we start to look at some of these, there's a particular area here where we can see the speed limit goes from 50 and maybe unfairly straight to a 10k. That's where a lot of these incidents start with these little red dots, and they kind of end up being closed off when it goes back to a 50-kilometer segment here. This area here, there's a particular town where there's only 2 incidents that have occurred, but there's a 40-kilometer, a 60 to a 40 zone, and there's just a couple of incidents. May or may not be the same vehicle where that's occurred. And again, as they kind of drive out of town, those incidents then close off again. So that's how Geoanalytics Engine within the Fabric environment can be used to essentially take a big haystack of data and really find that needle of information that you need to then serve to the business to give them the insights they need about, in this case, driver behavior monitoring from your vehicle positioning feeds.